Hi everybody, my name is Quinn, and so for my POL, I wanted to focus on the question of what makes people happy. That's been a question I've been obsessed with for like a very long time, and I think that originally before I left for the trip, I was expecting everybody and every place and every culture to be extremely different from each other, and what I found was that it really isn't. Like, we're all just people, and we have very similar wants and needs, and really just deep down, very similar things make us happy. So I think that there's this core part of us that, as humans, we have these wants and these things that make us happy, and then there's layers based on our experiences and based on our passions that also make us happy. I think also the answers of what make people happy in their core are pretty obvious, and when you hear them, it's like, of course, that makes sense, definitely. But I think that American culture, especially just because I've grown up in that, so that's what I know, kind of hinders that sometimes and distracts from that. So even though it seems like such an easy thing to achieve, or it sounds like a simple thing to achieve, it really isn't because of all these other barriers we have. Whether that's with different injustices or just based on the different experiences you've had and struggles that are constant in life. So I decided to write a song based on all of this. And I decided to do a song because I love music a lot. And I kind of like when you get to express yourself, but in ways that aren't necessarily very clear. Because I'm the kind of person that, this is also another thing on the trip that I found, that I don't have very strong opinions, and that was always a problem that I thought for me. Like, I thought that was a problem and something that I needed to fix. But I found that I'm just like an adaptable person, and I just like hearing different things and like adapting and changing. But there are core things to me that I hold and value. So I wrote a song, and the lyrics are have different meanings behind them sometimes, and I think sometimes it can be contradictory, but I kind of like that. So also, one of the communities we were in, it was actually our last place for our homestay, El Caboyal. That was my favorite place in the whole trip because I was extremely happy there. And I think that a lot of people who were there were happy, but also they had struggles that I'm not aware of because I was only there for such a short amount of time, and there's certain aspects of their life that I didn't get to see. And obviously, everybody has struggles in their life. So I was just really happy there, and the reasons that I came to think why that was is, one, there were no mirrors in my house. No mirrors, and the only mirror that I brought was very small. So American culture, obviously, is very much like determined based on how people look, and judgments are made based on that. And I'm faulty of that. I make judgments based on people how it look too, and it's just how it's been ingrained in me. But there, I couldn't pay attention to how I looked because I had no means of doing that, or very small means. So I never had to worry about that, and and then it made it easier for me to just accept people for just purely who they were, personalities, and everything combined, and I didn't have to worry about what I looked like, and I couldn't be overthinking like, oh, this is what I need to change about myself. Maybe I should look like this and this and this. It just wasn't as prevalent when I was there. Another thing was, it was such a small community, so there were only about 100 people there, and that means that everybody was like a familiar face, and everybody was just kind in very simple acts. So I would just walk down the street, and people that I had never spoken to because there was a language barrier, I just hadn't had the chance to, they would smile or wave, and I didn't have to know them. And I think that's also in American culture not very prevalent. Some people do that, but it's very much like when you're walking down the street, you're not going to acknowledge the people that you don't know always. And that's just a simple act that shows that we're all just human, and that you don't have to know somebody to show that you care, and that they're a human just like you. It really doesn't matter. Another thing was, there I just felt really free, and that I could do what I loved a lot. So I love music, and I played a lot of music while I was there. And people would just gather around, and we'd all sing and laugh and talk and had fun, and then we would play soccer with some of the different kids in the community, and we go swim in the river and just got to really feel free. But I know that in life you can't always do that. You have to make a living. There's different ends that need to be met. But it's an aspect of life that I want to try to make sure I can keep capturing, and I want to see if there's a way that I can make other people happy. And if that's potentially just in really small and simple things, by saying hi or waving or smiling or playing music, and maybe that'll brighten their day, or just dancing with someone, like just very simple things that maybe it's not connecting with someone on a really deep level, but it's just a very small, minuscule way of connection. So I'm going to play my song, and then afterwards, if you have any questions, ask. And I'm going to keep my lyrics here, so I'm going to be like behind the podium just in case.
Just in case.
When days are numb short, and the free fall at all, it's been handed to you. Well, I'm not sorry for taking it down. Well, I've been places I haven't yet found. Still just people, still the same. Just waiting on a simple change of the world in a glass paper post, paper past, taking on its claim. But the symbols and mass blue are gone, are undressed and bare to the bone of a name. And I want something that's not told in time. The city sky gets lighter when the happy's been on its floors. Maybe that you can see what you saw, better broken and bent and it all again. Maybe nothing ever changed, but the blue soul is not to blame. It's not all in your head, better woven than unsaid, it's taking on its claim. But the symbols are tested now, different then, and bare to the bone of a name. And I want something that's not told in time. The city sky gets lighter when the happy's caught on its flaws. Maybe then you can see what you saw, better broken and bent and it all again. And I want something that's not told in time. The city sky gets lighter when the happy's caught on its flaws. Maybe then you can see what you saw, better broken and bent and it all again.
So I did TBB 3 years ago now, and while I was there, I feel like everyone processes what they're seeing and what they're experiencing in very different ways. For me, it was obsessively journaling everywhere I went.
Yeah.
To what extent was music a processing mechanism for you? Is that what it worked as when you were
Yeah, it definitely was. It was a little frustrating because guitar is much more of a newer instrument for me, and I wanted to plug a piano with me, but that was gonna be too hard. It's not gonna happen. So I definitely used music as a means, but then I also ended up listening to a lot more music and actually thinking about the lyrics and connecting to more with more experiences that I had. So that was kind of a newer way that I used music, because usually it was just writing songs that I connected, but it was definitely a huge thing for me during the trip.
Well, your song was incredible.
Thanks.
You were in a few places with your guitar. So you talked about one experience, right, in a small, tiny town. Did you use it anywhere else that you were, and how was that different or the same?
Well, it was definitely different in the sense that it was in El Caboyal, there was such a sense of community that everybody would come around, and it was just very much, it almost felt like the by a campfire playing songs with everybody, something like that. And in the other communities, my very first host family in South Africa, my host mom loved to sing so much, which I love because I probably sing too much and annoy people, but she could tolerate it. But so with her, I learned songs, and she actually taught me some songs from South Africa too. But it definitely wasn't exactly the same, but people did still enjoy listening to it and like to share their music too.
And how about the Indian culture? How did that differ from South Africa? In terms of receiving your music, being receptive?
Yeah. I actually did not play that much music in India. The only time I really played was in my room, with someone I did TBB Global people. Yeah. But yeah, so actually there I didn't really play as much.
Because
I was just I think very obsessed with being with people all the time, and I just wanted to really be into everything, and I felt sometimes if I was doing music then I was off on my own, and I didn't want that. So yeah, didn't really feel it at the moment.
Do you think your experiences have changed the direction of music in you?
I feel like it's broadened my I don't know, for me, just not even music related, it's definitely just broadened a lot of things for me and maybe solidified things that I don't want, but not really setting me down certain paths, except I still love music. I don't know if it really
I had a question about the language exchange. 4 years ago, hitchhiking through Morocco, I came across this teacher who was teaching his school kids English just by teaching them Beatles songs, which is what they had available in southern Morocco. And I wondered, you're in El Caboyal, probably more there than anyone else, but you must have picked up some Spanish songs. They must have been desperate to learn whatever English-speaking song. And you think differently in different languages. You express yourself differently. And I wondered if you felt your music growing through that interchange.
Yeah, that's actually very true. They showed me a lot of their Spanish songs, and then so some of the songs that I didn't write but I was doing covers of, they wanted to know what the meaning was. So I would go to an internet cafe and I'd print out the lyrics there and bring them back, and then got to share with them through that. And yeah, it was really interesting. Also because music, I feel the lyrics in its own language, it's a different song. And when you have a different language, the words just aren't the same. So it was really interesting, definitely. And I did learn to sing some Spanish songs, although I'm sure that could be not something. So it's interesting. But
So this isn't about music, but something you said in your introductory comments that I kind of related to. You said that very adaptable, listening to different things and going this way and that way. And I'm sure I'm projecting myself into that comment a little bit, right? And then you said, and yet I also know there are pieces of me that are me.
mm-hmm.
What's one of those pieces?
Good question. I feel like it's hard to like put certain things into words because also like a big thing for me, I was like, I can't wait to like come back because everyone was saying I'd come back a new person. And I was like, I can't wait to like this whole new thing, and it's like, no, it's just like growth. And I feel like there were things about me that I like didn't realize were me, and I just thought there were things that needed to change or, well, it's like hard to pick specific things, I feel like. I just feel like I have, I have like,
No, so it's okay to be adaptable.
yeah. I feel like I have a better sense of self, and that like I'll have things like parts of me that'll guide me, but I don't have like solidified.
Yes. I get it.
Yeah, that was a big thing. And I forgot to touch on this, but like a big thing for me, like one example is that before I left, I always like was not a big fan of technology, and people would get really mad at me with like my texting skills and like communication just really not good. And I was always like, okay, I need to change this, I need to get better at this, but it never like made me happy. Social media, I don't like it, it doesn't make me happy. And this trip solidified that like, yes, that doesn't make me happy, and I don't need to like try and make it make me happy. So that was definitely one thing that I like don't know going forward how it's gonna turn out, because American culture is very much like centered around that. So we'll see.
I gotta say, I find it hilarious that you're saying that because I relied on your pictures to figure out what was going on. I mean, waiting for Benji to post anything was like waiting for a trigger to be one. Anyway, it's funny to say
Yeah. And I feel like also progressively the trip went on, I like got worse, and I was like, oh, I need to post, I need to like get those pictures out there. Yeah, and people were telling me like, yeah, they're just like, all the parents can just look at my photos.
Yeah.
And they're set.
Essentially.
Yeah, for sure.
But do you feel like you've maybe narrowed down or changed your idea of what happiness is, or how maybe you define it or conceive that?
I feel like, yeah, kind of like, I think I'm still open to like finding new things that help me define happiness, but I feel like there are the basic things that kind of everybody would say. It's like trusting relationships with people and love and senses of community and like those core things. And then for me, like a passion of mine is music, so that makes me happy. And dancing, I love to dance, that makes me happy, but that's like one of my layers almost. And I think music like is pretty universal, and like I think everybody likes some type of music, but there might be other things that they're really passionate about, and that's like a layer of their happiness. Anything else? You good?